Hey, before I get into the guides on the individual dungeons, I want to do a quick overview of things you should do before you try Mythic Plus at all and just kind of the process of forming PuGs. I'm assuming that if you're in a decent guild, you're going to have a raid leader that knows all these mechanics and can brief you on it. So these videos are more for people who are a little more casual, just kind of come and go when they have a minute, and are more like me in that way, as opposed to the people that are with a super dedicated hardcore guild. There are much more try hard videos out there for you. So the first thing is obviously you need to be decent at your class. I don't think you have to be like sim perfect for damage, but it's more like you need to know exactly what CC you have a rough idea of how to handle your survival cooldowns, and it's almost more helpful to think about this in terms of PvP than PvE for Mythic Plus, because the boss fights are going to be the easy part. The hard part is going to be surviving some of the more difficult trash packs. For add-ons, I like DBM. It pretty much just automates all the callouts, and it makes it really easy to not have to get on voice with people. If you are capable of any meaningful amount of off healing, you should get Healbot. And you should have, I don't know if you prefer details or recount, but you should have some kind of DPS, HPS meter. And don't like be toxic about it, but it is important to kind of know where your group stands before you go into stuff. So like for instance, as a tank, what I'll do at the beginning of any pug is I'll pull really small the first time and just watch that meter and get a feel for how strong people are, and that will determine the pace I go. Now, this is a really important part. There's no magic solution for detecting good and bad pugs, but if you're not with people you know and can rely on voice, I would say you're you're adding two to any difficulty by pugging as a general rule. So, for instance, I have a Guardian Druid that's eye level 190. And so, difficulty wise, I should be doing +7, +8 ish, because you want something that's the intersection of doable for someone with your specs without it being a total carry, and rewards remaining meaningful. So if I remember right, +7 drops eye level 200, which is about 10 ahead. So that's about where I should be looking. And then +8 is if I feel really good about a group and we want to really push. So I know this is going to sound terrible, but honestly, like, save your own keys for when you're running with people you know. I would never pug on my own keys because people rage quit all the time, and there's absolutely no penalty for it. I really, really hope Blizzard would come around on this, but it's been like that since Legion, so I don't think they will. Now, let's look through a few of these pugs that are created and just kind of see what's good and bad. So I see a Sanguine Depths +7, eye level required is 190. That looks pretty reasonable, because what you want to look for is people that are either really edgy about requirements or don't have any at all. Both of those things are bad. So 1300 IO, I don't know what that is, but that sounds like they're gonna like slash inspect you and look at your achievements and be a total dick about it, and that's gonna be a toxic nightmare. And when groups are toxic, they don't tend to get things done. So let's see if I can find another bad example here. Okay, so this is a +11 with no requirements put on it. That's kind of that's a little sketchy. Um, it could be that they're just looking at things personally, but what that's going to mean is that you're never going to get in unless you're overgeared. And if they say something like this, they're already tilted before they even start, so don't join that. Okay, let's see if I can find another few others. Okay, so this is another good example. So it's just like Theater of Pain +5, eye level required 180. I think +5 drops like 194 gear if I remember right. So that's about right. Um, this is another bad one because it's a +2. Now, chill group, that's generally a good sign. I really wish people would just specify whether or not they're planning to push when they make the group, because it's really upsetting when they kind of when they kind of lowball the eye level and they get mad that they broke their key. But look at this. So +2 drops eye level 187 gear, and they expect you to be 185 to show up. So that means that best case scenario, you get a 2 eye level improvement on one piece of gear. Now I know that that's not how averages work and such, but like that's really bad. This is somebody who wants a carry. Oh, also, while I see the +0, do not pug things you haven't done before. Period. Now, if it's something like you've done it on +4 and you want to try +5, that's fine. But if you've never been there at all, do not pug it. And definitely, definitely, definitely don't go into anything on plus you haven't done on 0. Because it is not like those normal dungeons you did leveling. Like, Mythic has a very, very noticeable difficulty spike, especially for these dungeons, it seems. So there's going to be stuff you don't know, and I'll go through those in the later videos, dungeon by dungeon, but do not do that to people, please. Huh. People are already going for that. And unfortunately, I try searching for numbers up here, but it doesn't really seem to do anything, so you just have to scroll through all of them. Oh, also another just kind of angsty, making people's lives easier point. I believe that all the legendary memories are 100% drop on Mythic 0, so don't go join people's heroics and rage quit when you don't get it. Please don't be that guy. It makes life so hard, and again, I call on Blizzard to do something about that, because you really should get Deserter. Okay, here's another one. When they say like pumpers or like pumps, things like that, that means they want to carry. Don't join that. Or LF gamers push. Don't join that. What? Okay. Um so it's okay if they want specific specs, though it's a little iffy when they want something super, super meta like Shaman. God, I never thought I'd say Shaman was meta. Um, but then you see like easy timer, big boys only. Like, no, that's someone who wants a carry and is not very confident. It's perfectly understandable that you want to run with people who don't suck, but putting things like this isn't going to get you there. Ultimately, there really isn't a way to ensure that you're going to have a good group, because you could always just end up with somebody who was either carried to their eye level or just got super, super lucky from the vault. So, because I mean, like, you could take a fresh 60, and in fact, I know because I've done this, and then you go buy a 190 BOE, or you trade one from one of your alts that found one. Then you buy a eye level 200 Dark Moon deck, and then craft a bunch of 168 gear, and you could get straight into an M0 on Ding within like 5 minutes. And are you going to know your class particularly well? Maybe, depending. If you, I love when people do crap like this. So, if you boosted to 50 and then you just power leveled through dungeons and then did that, which I will shamelessly admit that I've done, then it's perfectly possible you could have somebody that's very geared, has no idea about any of these fights, and doesn't know their class at all. So if you want things to be reliable, run with a guild. It is a nightmare out there in Pugland. Okay. 160 for a Halls 0. I mean, that's iffy. Because, I mean, that's a 28.5 eye level gap. 24. Sorry, I need to be precise. Between, like, what you have and what you're getting. Usually you want that to be about 10 to 15 for the difficulty to line up well. I mean, I did my M0s week 1 at eye level, like, 155, 156, something like that. So it's possible, but it's going to take a very long time. You have to have the mechanics absolutely perfect, and you are not going to finish any plus that way. Also, 190 for plus 8. That's, I mean, if you have a good group, that could be fine. So anyway, I'll stop judging pugs now. You probably get the idea that you need to just eyeball the eye level requirement versus the eye level of the gear that will drop versus their general attitude out the gate. Like, don't join that. All right, and a few other points. A lot of groups will just summon you on the spot if they're mostly full, but if, like, be polite and, like, give them the courtesy flying over to the zone at least if you don't know, because, you know, part of that timer is the IRL timer, and if it takes you all 20 minutes to get over there, that increases the probability that people rage quit until before you've even begun. Um, if you're a healer, bring food for sure, because it's harshly timed and people are not going to stop for you. A good tank will look over at mana and, like, try to be polite. My general rule is I will stop if you're under 60% between pulls. And, man, I just realized I haven't played a lot of DPS this expansion, but another thing is that it's gonna help if you know kind of everyone's role. Now, this is approaching no life territory, but when I was really, really bored in Warlords of Draenor, the expansion that most of the community agrees never happened, I went ahead and power leveled every class in the game to max. And I gotta say, that was probably the best thing I've ever done for learning mechanics, because now I know everyone's exact capabilities. And while that makes it a lot harder to not judge people, it is really nice to be able to call things out like, yo, mage, polymorph this, shaman, hex this, hunter, ice trap this. And you can tell mage, like, you'd be surprised what you can spell steal. With warrior, you can deflect stuff, and it's just very useful to know everyone's complete kit when you're strategizing. Because chances are, if you know what you're doing, you're going to be the one calling the shots, because most people don't. And for Mythic Plus right now, CC is everything. There are, like, every dungeon is going to have some kind of raid wiping mechanic in the trash. Like on Necrotic Wake, there's the casters that do that green circle that nerfs your healing. That will kill anyone. I don't care how geared they are. Like, if you don't GTFO from that, then you're going to have a rough time. And when there's a lot of them, then you're just going to have to CC them, or else they will catch up with you. Another example is in Mists. You should know things like, hey, Hunter doesn't really have any hard casts and is completely mobile, so they can run around to do the puzzle while the rest of you are fighting. And it's just little things like that that will make a huge difference in the timer. So I think from here it's going to start getting dungeon specific. So I will cover that in the next video. Peace.